All right, guys, here we are at the new property. And as you can see, this is my backyard. And that is the end of the driveway. There is no shed or garage. And if you've watched my channel at all, you know that I love doing lawn care and I have nowhere to store any of my equipment. Everything's in storage right now. So what I've elected to do is build a tough shed. Now myself, they come prefabricated, they build it at a warehouse, then they come back here and then they assemble it like in one day. So I ran into a few problems, and in this video, I'm just gonna kind of inform you if you're going to do a prefabricated shed or a tough shed, some of the things that I've ran into, and hopefully it'll save you some money and some time. So let's get into it. So with tough sheds, there is a galvanized metal bottom. That way we can set it right on the grass and there won't be any rotting or anything of the wood that you have to worry about. But if there is a 4-inch slope, and as you can see, I am going down this slope here, it's the grade away from the house, there's an extra charge for that. There's also an extra charge for the metal bottom on the shed. So, you know, these are a couple things you need to take into consideration when you're purchasing one of these. And then now you can see if I'm doing a small shed over here, there wouldn't be a charge because this is perfectly flat over here. But I'm doing a 12 by 24 structure. It's going to take up this whole area and this slope comes into play. But now another charge that you have to think about also is that we had to apply for permits to build this structure because it's so big. It's not just something you can drop in the backyard. And when applying permits, that's another cost. But now in my city of Harrison Township, if you have a structure that's over 200 square feet, which I'm 12 by 24, significantly larger, you need to lay down footings all the way around. So we are going to be pouring concrete, which now comes into another bigger cost than what you look at when you look online or you go in there. There's a lot more fees that are hidden here because now I have to put down concrete. And this is something else that you have to take into consideration when laying concrete or possibly putting down gravel. So the original plan was I was gonna lay down 13 by 25 foot square of limestone. We were gonna put down a vapor barrier, and just to get something, even though it was not necessarily needed because of the bottom of the shed being metal, you know, I wanted something in between the metal and the grass. I just didn't want to have it sitting on wet grass. That way anything can run underneath it. So I was going to put down a vapor barrier or like a weed barrier and then just throw some limestone on top and then set the shed on top of that. So I had that scheduled, and then I was like, wait a minute, you know, because you can go ahead and do that. There's no permits required. But then it came back. Well, actually, I went to the city and asked, and they said, anything over 200 square feet, we need to put down footers. So here I am trying to save time and get this done before they come in here with the shed and set it down. And I was going to go ahead and do that. And I contracted that out. And then I was like, oh, wait a minute, because that's what Tough Shed told me that I could do. But then the city comes back saying that, no, you have to put down concrete. So that would have been a $2,000 loss. So you have to make sure with your permits and be in total communication with the supplier or Tough Shed or whoever it may be, because I was about to throw away $2,000. But just so you know, the difference between laying down some limestone opposed to concrete, the limestone was $2,000, and now this concrete job is going to be probably around like $5,200. So it's a significant price increase, but opposed to just laying limestone, which still, even though putting that down, it'll help the shed, you know, stay level longer, you know, because over time, depending on how big the structure is, it can start to sink a little bit into the ground, and it's relatively wet where I'm at. If you were doing just a small shed that they offer, you know, putting down a barrier will help you out, but and you don't have to worry about that. But this is a giant structure. This is basically the size of a small garage. So this is going to dip in a little bit into the ground. So by laying concrete down now, we're going to have footers, which is also known as a rat wall. We're going to have a total perimeter here, and the shed is going to sit on top of that. And now that will ensure that this shed is not going to shift over time. It's going to be nice and level until I leave this place, or I'm probably going to end up dying here anyways. This is my forever home. Now, this isn't necessarily an extra cost, but if you are one of those people that time is money, which is totally true in my opinion, this is going to be a time saver for you, because if you do not have a clear pathway, we are on the end of the driveway and then we go into the backyard. If they don't have a clear path to the job site, then we're going to have a situation where you're going to have to reschedule, or you're going to have to hire someone out to clear this all out. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my trusty Cenex pole saw, because as you can see, some of these branches, even though they're low hanging, that where it attaches to the tree, the limbs, they're up high. So I have a telescopic saw, and I'm going to cut that real high. That way it ensures that we have a nice clear path. Also, this shrubbery right here, we're going to take the bush shrub trimmers. We're just going to trim that back. And then even in the backyard, the back, you can see this thing that I'm going to be constructing is a barn. It's 2 stories. So we're going to go up high, and it's going to be hitting the branches in the back. So when they go to assemble it, they're going to be hitting those branches. And I can only imagine that any type of interference, they're going to want to cancel or reschedule. And that's just going to be frustrating. So, and also too, if you take a look, when I mow, these branches are hitting me anyways. So we have to go up high with that. So we're going to trim with the telescopic Cenex all the way up top. That way we have a nice, clear pathway for the tough shed to come in. Okay, that sucked. So that's done. As you can see, we have a nice clear shot for the shed people and the concrete people to come through here now and lay down their footing. So what have we went over so far? You got to make sure that your slope, depending on what size shed you are, because the thing is that I thought that you could go right in and say, oh yeah, I want a tough shed or whatever prefabricated shed. There's some rules and regulations to do that. You can't just buy it and throw it down. Some of them you might be able to, those plastic ones, but there was requirements here where there is a charge if there is a 4% slope or 4-inch slope coming down, and then the size of the shed. They said that it was okay, that I could just set it on the lawn because there's a metal bottom. They're like, well, maybe you should put down some gravel, limestone. And I'm about to go ahead and do that. That was going to cost $2,000. Turns out you have to go to the city, find out what your square footage is that you're allowed to have. Mine was a little too big. In this city, over 200 square foot is you need a permit and you need cement. You can't just throw something down. So all that was kind of like a gray area. Some of it was misinformed to me, or not informed, not to blame it on Tough Shed. So you got to do your own homework. So that's the point of this video, is to give you a couple points, some insights if you're going to do one of these things. Another one is having a clear shot all the way through. Otherwise, they're going to reschedule on you and waste your time. And then now another one is that with the city, you need to be 6 feet away from the fence line. You can't just, you measure out. If you come up to this fence and you're going to measure, oh, I got from here to there, and you're butting up against this fence, it's like, you got to be a certain amount. And I got to be 6 feet, which is right outside this tree. And then I go that way towards the house. So, and there's other requirements too that you're going to have to look up doing these prefabricated sheds or building structures, storage units is whatever you want to call it, is you got to be a certain distance away from the house. So, that's basically all that I got for you right now. It's, and if you want to subscribe to the channel, you know, hit a thumbs up, comment if you've done one of these sheds and have ran into some problems. I'm going to keep this story going because we got permits pulled. We're going to be laying stuff down, and if there's any problems that come up, I'll be sure to document all of it because, you know, this is a total learning process for me, and I'd like to share this information with other people because, you know, knowledge is power, and plus two, it'll save your sanity because I've been fighting with all of this for over a month and a half now, trying to get this thing just permits, you know, correct permits and getting everything prepped. So, but yeah, make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow along with the shed, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Make sure that you have some beers ready for you after you do your tree trimming because the way people charge nowadays, it's insane. So I built my own decks. I fixed my own stuff, banisters at the house, make my own stuff. And I bet you that was around $500 to $800 worth of work. And it seriously took me about an hour. It's not hard. Pick up some Cenex stuff, shameless plug, and cut it down yourself, lazy.